Hello, and welcome to Checks and Chapstick. Whether it's your first time or you're returning, I ask that you sit back, relax, and enjoy. I am coming to you today, with I'm going to try my best to just move through this instead of doing a bunch of editing. But I am coming to you today because I actually have experienced a complication, if you notice the title of this video. And so it's important that I not just talk about the good, but I also talk about the bad when it comes to what happened with my tummy tuck. So first, I'll set the stage. The Friday before Christmas, I started running a fever, no other symptoms. Of course, first thing you think is corona. So I took a COVID test. It was negative, and I really wasn't experiencing any other symptoms. So Christmas Day came. I wasn't feeling well that morning. But as the day progressed on, I started feeling really good. So I thought, whatever it was, I kept teasing and saying I must be cutting teeth. Because a lot of times babies, when they cut teeth, they get a fever and no other symptoms. So I moved through the day pretty well, felt pretty good. But that next morning, I felt terrible. So I went to urgent care. Urgent care, ran flu, COVID, RSV, because RSV is very big right now, especially with adults. All kinds of tests and nothing, strep and everything, and everything was fine. And so as I'm kind of talking about my symptoms and everything, and her knowing, the doctor knowing that I just had a tummy tuck, she starts feeling around and she's like, "Ooh, I think you need to go to ER." So I go to ER, hop right on over to ER. They were waiting for me, but it was the day after Christmas, so it was a madhouse. Oh my God, there were so many people there. And I'm like, I'm more likely to catch something in this waiting room than to, have my ailment treated in this waiting room. So I went ahead and left before I was even seen. I told myself that if I had a fever the next day, that I would go ahead and go back to the ER. And sure enough, the next morning, 102 fever, go back to the ER. And they do a scan of my abdomen and see that I have 3 pockets of fluid, 2 pockets of what looks like just surgical, regular healing fluid, but 1 pocket appeared to be infected. And because my surgeon is so far away, and clearly I was having problems because I've been running a fever for days, the emergency room doctor told me very flat out, he said it would be a medical blunder for me to allow you to leave. And so I was admitted, and I was in the hospital for 4 days. They ended up on these, I had to see interventional radiology, and interventional radiology actually withdrew. They took a syringe, stuck it in the pockets, and drew it out. And sure enough, the 2 pockets that they suspected were just regular fluid were fine, but the pocket that was actually closer to my pelvis that they thought was infected was in fact infected. As soon as they pulled the fluid out, they saw pus in it and everything, and they're like, yes, infected. So I was on a broad spectrum antibiotic, 3 of them actually, broad spectrum antibiotics, until they could culture the bacteria, which ended up being staph, but they had to culture the bacteria. It took 48 hours for them to find out, oh, it was staph, and so we need to treat it with this specific type of antibiotic. And so I went home with 30 days of Keflex that I have to take every 6 hours. My options actually were to, apparently you can get it, like an IV. You can go somewhere, they start an IV, and then they give you IV antibiotics once a week, but it was incredibly expensive. It was like $2,300 out of pocket after my insurance, covered their part. I could have gotten a PICC line where I would give myself bagged IV antibiotics through a PICC line or central line, whatever it's called, for like 2.5 or 3 weeks. Or I could just pay $11 for Keflex and, take it every 6 hours for 30 days. So that's what I opted to do. So the thing about it is that I was sick. My blood pressure was really low because there was infection. I wasn't in a lot of pain per se, other than the healing pain that I was still experiencing from the tummy tuck, which wasn't excruciating, but still, you know, sometimes you need to take an ibuprofen. I had my IV blow twice while I was in there. I had an interesting experience getting potassium that was actually administered to me incorrectly, which ended up causing a severe amount of pain. And I'm a person who tries to follow the doctor's orders for the most part. You know, I don't try to bother the nurses. I try to, like, you know, handle things for myself, and, oh, you know, I can take myself to the bathroom. I can do all these things. But I was in so much pain and so irritated and just almost kind of out of my mind behind this whole potassium debacle that I actually threatened a nurse, which isn't funny because I didn't threaten her bodily harm. No, but I threatened her that I was going to rip my IV, and I actually stood up and reached for it like, I'm going to rip this IV out of my arm if you don't stop this potassium right now. I was in that much pain and just overall just so overwhelmed with the situation. One day I actually refused to receive visitors because I just didn't feel like myself. And as much as I appreciated everybody, you know, being concerned about me, I just wanted to be by myself and have my own little pity party and be mad and pissed off and sick looking and stink and not brush my teeth and, you know, whatever I wanted to do to make myself feel better in that hospital room one day. But I ended up getting out. I'm feeling a lot better now. I, you know, am about halfway through, a little bit more than halfway through my antibiotic. I am, you know, I feel like I'm healing well. And even when I was in the hospital, both the emergency room doctor and the doctor, the interventional radiologist, both of them said, you actually, your scars look amazing. Like, your scars are healing really well. It's just, and the staph that I got is staph that just lives on your body. A lot of people don't realize that there is bacteria that just lives on your body, period. Like, it lives on your body, and most of the time it doesn't cause a problem, but sometimes it can. So I didn't do anything wrong. The surgeon didn't do anything wrong. The hospital didn't do anything wrong. It just happens sometimes. But it really sucks because it doesn't happen very often. And then it ended up happening to me. And my surgeon was so far away, and it being an emergent situation that I had to go to the emergency room here instead of getting on the highway and driving, you know, 6.5 hours to go see him on Christmas weekend. So the one thing I just wanted to be upfront with you. If you have any questions, please let me know. But the one big thing that I want everyone to take away from this, if you're listening, if you're watching, don't let this be a deterrent, what happened to me, a deterrent from you going to get any kind of like surgeries to improve your quality of life. All surgeries have risks. And so risk of infection, risk of complications, even including risk of death. So don't look at Osceola and be like, oh, this happened with Osceola, this happened with her, so yeah, that's why I'm not going to do this. We get in our cars every day to go to the grocery store, to go to work, to, you know, go to a concert, to go to a restaurant, and we don't think twice about the fact that there are people getting in their cars every single day who never make it to their destination. But you don't say, I'm not going to work, restaurants, or the grocery store anymore because it happened to that one person in that one time, so I'm not going to do it. So don't take this as a reason why you don't want to do it. I'm fine. They took care of me. I'm glad that, you know, they identified things early and I was able to get the care that I needed. But all in all, I still don't regret my decision to have the surgery, even despite the fact that I had a complication. So just think about that. You know, don't let that be a deterrent of these one-off situations that happen. Don't let that deter you. But that's it. So, again, if you have any comments, suggestions, or you just want to say hello, you know to do it below. But otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye.